So the Democratic Party folks made history this week. They made history. Jamie Harrison, head of the DNC, very proud of this. Today, the DNC is releasing its first ever ad focused on third-party candidates. That's not a flex. That's not like a brag. Like, why would you announce that as this is a historic first? Trump likes, quote unquote, that Jill Stein is in this race because Jill Stein can't win, but she can help Trump win. So let's take a look at this. A historic first, everyone. The first time that the DNC has ever released an official attack ad against a third-party president. They're very, very proud of this, so let's see their work.
Stein, Green Party candidate for president. So why are Trump's close allies helping her? Stein was key to Trump's 2016 wins in battleground states. She's not sorry she helped Trump win. That's why a vote for Stein is really a vote for Trump.
Jill Stein, I like her very much. You know why? She takes 100% from them.
She does a great job.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Yeah, so that's DNC. That is a historic first. Very, very proud of that. Our friend Nick Cruz at RN, who we're going to be featuring a little bit later on the show as well. Those internal polls must be devastating. Yes, this is absolutely the work of a loser. Dems are shook, says Nico House, after seeing those polls in Michigan. Let's go, Jill Stein, Butch Ware. Peter Lombard, I don't know who he is, but he gets this right here. You really are desperate. Kamala Harris is really going to lose. So you lash out at Jill Stein while ignoring Harris's absolute support for Israel and the genocide it is committing. The problem for Democrats is not Jill Stein, it's Kamala Harris. Absolutely. So this is absolutely the work of a desperate campaign. I mean, like, what did they think they were accomplishing by releasing that? Anyone would tell you that for a major party to be attacking a third party within a month of the election means they're really desperate for every vote they can get. The polls in Michigan are razor tight now. Trump has actually overtaken Kamala in the latest average of polls. It's very close by less than 1 point, but he is the leader at this point. Trump has amassed a very, very small lead in a lot of these swing states now. That's why the betting markets have swung back towards him very, very slightly, mind you. But Trump's polling is proving resilient, and a move like this is obviously the move of a losing campaign. And so I want to show you this video here. Mark Halperin on Harris's swing state trajectory. So Mark Halperin has been following the developments of the race. This was a guy who was Me Too'd a few years back and sort of shunned from mainstream media. He did go out on a limb in mid-July saying Joe Biden will be out.
What's he doing now? He's just running his own shop?
He's got his own thing, and he's got the YouTube channel. He's one of us. He's in our game now. Welcome, Mark.
Now he's in our game. All right.
Yeah. But, he went out on a limb in mid-July, the weekend before Joe Biden dropped out, and said, I have a source that says Biden's going to drop out this weekend. And then it looked like Biden wasn't going to drop out, so we all said what an idiot this guy made of himself. But no, it turns out he was correct. He was right. The only prediction he got wrong, he said Biden wasn't going to endorse Kamala. Biden did endorse Kamala. But he did get right when Biden would drop out. So this is, like I said, he's a reputable guy, and he has access to the internal polls. And so what he says here confirms the suspicion of many people who rightly criticized that ad for being the desperate work of a flailing campaign. Here's Mark Halperin on the state of the swing states.
For you Harris people on here complaining that we're talking about problems in the Harris campaign, you're welcome to put your head in the sand about it. If you want to go watch MSNBC primetime and hear how great things are going for the Harris campaign, you're welcome to do that. But if you want to understand what's actually happening, we're here to tell you. I just saw some new private polling today. That's very robust private polling. She's in a lot of trouble. Here's how.
Boom. No audience capture from Mark Halperin. He tells the audience straight to their face while they're on a Zoom call. Listen, any of you Kamala Harris supporters don't like this.
Come and get your fucking shine box.
That's it. Proud of this guy. But he says, yeah, they're in a lot of trouble. He goes on.
I framed it this morning in my newsletter. The conversation I'm having with Trump people and Democrats with data are extremely bullish on Trump's chances in the last 48 hours. Extremely bullish. You think of the 7 battleground states. Which ones is Harris in danger of losing? I would say Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, North Carolina, and Georgia. I'm not saying she'll lose all 6, but she's in danger. The only one that the Democrats say she's not in danger of losing is the one I never say the name of because I can't pronounce it. But it's where Las Vegas is, right? You guys agree with me? She could lose any of those 6, right? I mean, she could lose all 7, but Democrats will tell you they're worried about those 6. They're less worried about the 7th.
Yeah.
I don't know any Trump person who says they're worried about losing any of the 7. They don't know that they don't necessarily think they're the favorite in Michigan and Wisconsin, but they're not worried about losing it.
Right.
There's not, you don't hear from them, oh my goodness. What you hear is we're moving up. What the 3 of us are hearing, we're moving up in those 2. We're going to win. We're going to win at the 3 Sunbelt states, and we're stronger in Pennsylvania than she is. That to me, if the whole thing's about the Electoral College, you take any of the Rust Belt states away from her, it's very difficult for her to win. Very difficult. It's not mathematically impossible, but it probably won't happen if she loses any of them.
So there you have it. He lays out how dire it is. This is why I've always said Trump, in my brain, is the favorite. My gut tells me we're going to see the normie surge, but my brain has always said Trump is the favorite for mostly this reason. Trump has more paths. Fewer things have to go right. What Halpern said there is absolutely spot on from a pundit standpoint. He's got small but stubborn leans in the Sunbelt states. His trajectory is very, very slow but positive in the upper Midwest. And all he needs is one of those, and he almost certainly wins unless he's surprised somewhere else. And so given the tightness of the race, you're seeing Democrats scrounging for every vote they can. That is the only thing that explains why you would attack Jill Stein with less than a month to go.
I find Halpern's work is a lot better since he went over to just having Alexa do all of his assisting.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Less
young
distractions.
girls. Less distractions. He seems more focused now.
Yeah.
Since he got Me Too'd. Yeah, maybe. You could argue it either way. I think you're still just as likely to have what I would call a Roe surge as to have Trump win. It's a very unpredictable election for that reason. Like without Dobbs, we'd be living in a different world, man. You'd probably have Republicans in control of the Senate and the House right now. Like it would just be a different universe. So everyone was predicting a red wave. I think we were inclined, although we were skeptical of Trump's picks, to think that the Republicans were going to do much better than they did, as I recall how we were talking about it at the time. So who fucking knows? Nobody knows shit with this election.
No one knows.
You're right. Like Trump has more paths, so the odds favor him. Then again, how do you predict it? Same thing with Trump and Hillary, where everyone was confidently predicting it. How do you predict it when you have 2 of the most repulsive people in the country running against each other? And here we are again, where you have 2 of the most repulsive people in the country, people that most people do not like. Most people in general, most normal people do not like Donald Trump, and most normal people do not like Kamala Harris. At that point, it comes down to whose voters show up, which you just don't know until the day of the election. You really don't.
No, there's no way to really predict with any confidence who will win for 2 main reasons. The first is that there are more swing states now than there have been in any close race in recent history. 2000 and 2004, those were the closest races in recent history. 2016 was an upset. Like the polls weren't that close. Sure. The polls showed Hillary was pretty likely to win the swing states. They were just wrong. But in terms of polling going in, the 2 closest races in recent memory would have been 2000 and 2004.
But I would argue that's part of why the polls were so off, because it's such a weird dynamic when you got 2 candidates nobody likes. I think that makes a lot of room for unpredictable outcomes.
Well, that's
you're not dealing with normal motives.
Yeah, that's certainly a big part of it too. You want to pull your mic a little closer to your mouth, I think.
Oh yeah,
yeah, a little bit. There we go. So that is certainly one part of it. The other part of it, though, too, is that there's more swing states than ever, so there's more variables. But also, both candidates have a hidden vote out there. We know there's a hidden Trump vote because there always is. There always has been. The polling has never quite pinned down the Trump base. But there's also been a hidden pro-choice vote.
Right.
Not ever since
fucking
Dobbs.
Kansas.
Yes, in Kansas, which was before the midterms of 2022.
Right.
Then you had a hidden pro-choice vote in the midterms. Then you had hidden pro-choice votes in the statewide races in 2023. Now, how much of that translates to Kamala? See, the other thing that's a huge X factor is Kamala's turnout operation has never been tested because she's never won any votes. Like, part of the reason you go through a primary process is to put a stress test to your campaign operation. So you know when you get to the general, okay, we've already turned out whatever 15 million people. There's already proof that we can actually turn people out. There's so much unknown going into this election day. It's impossible to predict. But the closeness of the race clearly giving Democrats major anxiety, since what we know for sure is Trump is polling better than he ever has before going in. And that is a desperate work of a campaign that feels like it is in grave danger of losing. And they are.
And also numerically, the conventional wisdom for a very long time has been, if you're performing, which we'll get into a little later, if you're performing the way Kamala is with African Americans and you're performing the way she is with Latinos, you literally cannot win as a Democrat. So I don't even understand, based on that, how the polling is close. It's always been my understanding. She's actually losing Latinos now? So it's around 50-50, but I think favoring Trump.
Yeah, Trump has overtaken her in a couple of these recent polls.
52 Trump.
Yep.
And I've always heard 15% goes to the Republicans on black voters. Democrats are done.
Well, no, it's because they've made such inroads with the white neocon suburban Nikki Haley, George Bush, Dick Cheney people. Yeah, like that's what's keeping them in the game. It really is.
They're switching bases.
Yeah. So I thought this was great. Propaganda and Company put out a response to the attack ad on Jill Stein. This is good stuff.
So, who is Kamala Harris, and why are Netanyahu's close allies helping her? Kamala received $5.4 million from AIPAC. She's not planning to stop the genocide in Gaza. She actively supports Israel with American-made bombs, and she launders debunked atrocity propaganda to help Israel get away with their crimes. Maybe Mehdi Hassan will ask her hard-hitting questions about that. That's why a vote for Kamala Harris is really a vote for genocide. Don't believe me? Well, then hear it from her husband.
Let me just make this clear. Vice President Harris has been and will be a strong supporter of Israel, and she will always ensure that Israel can defend itself, period. That's who Kamala Harris is.
A genocide supporter. That's who Kamala Harris is. I'm a decent human being, and I endorse this message.
Nice clap back.
Nicely done.
Nicely done. Yeah. But once again, the DNC was very proud of this. They thought this was a real flex. It's everything but. Everyone replied with pretty much the exact same take. This really shows weakness more than anything else.
Right. Why would you go after Jill Stein if you were not on the verge of losing to Jill Stein? And what really, or because of Jill Stein.
Because of Jill Stein.
And what really makes this absurd and shows you what a bubble these people live in. Who's that convincing who was gonna vote for Jill Stein?
Exactly, yeah.
Is there a single person who was planning on that, who was going to watch that and say, you know what? I hadn't heard the duopoly argument, lesser of two evils thing. Yeah. I've never heard that before, that voting for a third party elects the Republican. Nobody's ever pitched that to me before. Like, who's it for? All you did was make yourself look weak. You didn't gain a single vote with this.
Right. Yeah, like you massage the prostate of the shit lib base. It's to cheer up the
libs.
Yeah, right. It's to cheer the libs. Right. You gave them a nice rub down, and that's it. Any persuadable person sees that as weakness, so obviously, and to brag that it's the first time the DNC has ever done this, as if that's a point of pride, like that shows how especially weak you are. That this is the first time you've ever felt a need to attack a third-party candidate with 3 weeks to go in the race.
Well, that's also the bubble that they're in, because this is the kind of thing that the libs live for.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Did you see that ad? They put out attacking Jill Stein. It was vicious. It was so vicious.
They live for that. Get my checkbook.
Well, yeah, you joke, but that's a big reason why they do this shit, right?
Yeah.
The more they can impress their lib base, the more checks get written, the more money comes in. That's a huge motivator.
I will say this. This is not scientific, but I take a lot of my information from just general observation of my environment. There was the moment after they chose Kamala that they tried to do the whole with her thing. It petered out. Like I don't even see the libs saying shit for Kamala anymore. Like they're gonna vote for her, man, but they just can't. They just can't. Probably just one too many people came back at them with vote blue no matter genocide, and they just stopped.
Yeah,
they just stopped. They just because they can't argue with it. It's not like with Hillary where they could jump up and down and call you a sexist. It's very hard to claim moral superiority when the person you're arguing with is showing you pictures of dead Palestinian children.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. I've noticed things have been a little bit quieter on that front.
Please clap.